Tyco's most popular and most produced steam locomotive, the 280 or the 080, which was in almost every train set from the Clementine to the Chattanooga. And we're going to talk about how I'm going to upgrade this one to DCC with a better tender drive that I've taken from a Bachmann 44 tonner. We're going to talk about the two different versions that were built, and we're going to upgrade a few of these to go on my eBay store to this type of configuration. So stay tuned to Psycho for Tyco as we rebuild one of these fun little steam locomotives. Now, on first impression, this thing's a basket case. Everything I got here was like totally separate. So what I got to do is I got to get a new front boiler plate for this. It's coming in, and then we're going to get rid of the numbers. We're going to paint the wheels so they don't have the shiny color. They'll look more prototypical. And then we're going to work on this little bad boy. And the way we're going to work on this is we're going to take out the power torque drive. And I got parts from Bachmann, a motor, some trucks, and a frame for their 44 tonner off their parts site. And we're going to integrate the 44 tonner into this with a couple of modifications. We got to add weight to this and build this up, convert the motor, and build it to DCC. So here's the list of the Bachmann parts that I ordered. The chassis frame with worms, didn't need the worms on that, but I'll have to check their parts site again to see if they actually just had the chassis frame without worms. This is their model, 62XX 00C10-3. It was $27.08. The motor, which was $24.26, and then two of the trucks with side frames, third generation, $16.18 each, or $32.36, for a total, without the postage, was $83.70. Your postage may vary. Now, if you've never taken out one of these power torque tenders, it's pretty easy. You've got a couple of tabs right here and here, and there's just enough gap to pop and pry. And that's all it basically takes. Get one side and watch it pop back in, and then get the other side, and there's the whole shebang. So now this tender's ready to be stripped and repainted into a basic black, and we'll be doing the same thing with this, but we'll be disassembling this later. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put our Bachmann drive together and get the DCC wires and plugs all hooked in. Now everything here from the Bachmann setup, everything pretty much dropped in the way I wanted it to, which is nice. There's a little bit, there we go. And then I just put these square covers back on to keep the worm gears in place. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to hook up our DCC harness. I've got basically a Digitrax DCC harness, and that's what I'm going to use. Here's the plug that we're going to use. And then, because I use my decoders from XL Systems, I found out through the instructions that, yeah, motor, orange, gray, and then red and black. So the color coding is right. So disregard what I said. So obviously we'll wire up black to black, red to red, and then all the other corresponding colors. Then I'm just going to plug in one of my Digitrax decoders here. I've just got a generic decoder. I had bunches of these, and then all of a sudden I decided I wanted sound, so I went with sound. So this one's not going to have sound, but it'll be easy to integrate sound. Like I said, Digitrax, they make a Steam decoder plug, and XL Systems, which is basically like the old MRC, they also do a universal Steam sound decoder, so we'll go with that. So let's go ahead and we're going to solder the wires. We're going to start with the motor, and I built this little tool to help me, you know, my extra hands. It's a little tool that basically holds the wires together while I'm putting the solder on. And so we're going to do orange to orange. So I just use the alligator clips. Get the wires close enough. And all these wires are pre-tinned, which is nice. Because I really don't like tinning wires. That should work. So I got my rosin core solder. I also use some soldering paste, and what I do the soldering paste for is two things. One, just to make sure that my iron is hot, and two, it really kind of helps clean up the iron a little bit. All right, and now we're just going to wire this thing in. Looks like my iron's hot enough. I got enough smoke coming out of it. Yeah. Liquid tape. We'll cover that up. All right, if I've done everything right, we should be all set to go. I've got a DH126, and I believe I programmed it back down to function 3. I'm hoping so. Well, not function 3, but address 3, which is the standard. So we're going to click this thing into forward. All right. And we've got function. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lube the gears, and now I'm going to put in the plug, and we're going to do the LED light, and we're going to call this one a episode. I went ahead and oiled it up, and I just used basic hair clipper oil, which is decent type of oil. I just dropped it in the gears, ran it forward and backward about 6 or 7 times just to work the oil in. And that's literally how the manufacturer does it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up some micro plugs to the lighting circuit, and then we're going to hook up a mini LED for the light, and then we're going to test that. Any micro plug will do, as long as it's a micro plug. And if you notice, I haven't shortened any wires or anything like that in here. That's not my intent. I mean, we can jam all this, the male and the female plugs, into the boiler, no problem. So we're going to grab my handy tool. We're going to bring back my soldering iron if I don't burn myself. We'll bring back all the fun stuff. And then we'll go ahead and we will wire it down. Now, according to the instructions, when I'm using an LED, which we're using a micro LED, white is for the front, yellow is for the rear, blue, white is common. If you're using LEDs, the blue LED is positive. So we're going to take the blue wire, we're going to put that to the red wire, and then the white wire will go to the black wire. Simple enough. And just for safety purposes and for the sake of, I don't want to burn the heck out of this, I'm going to go ahead and pull off the decoder. And we will hook this up. So blue to red and white to black. And I'm going to leave all the other accessory lights or the accessory wires available. And the reason I'm doing that is just in case you want to add something like maybe, say, smoke box flicker, or you want a rear headlight. But I'm not gonna plug a wire for the rear. That's all up to you. So we'll get our plugs put in. Now I will be shortening down the headlight wire because this is pretty darned long. And I don't think we need that much. What I do need is I need an outlet behind me. Wow, that went on in one shot. That went by rather easy. Okay, so the plug's installed on the first shot. So we're going to just put this to the side, and we're going to work with our micro LEDs. And the reason I'm using micro LEDs is because of the way the smoke box is set up. On the Chattanooga version, it's got what I would call a high headlight, top-mounted headlight. If you've seen my earlier video on the Tonopah Tidewater number 6, you'll know what I'm talking about. It doesn't have a center-mounted headlight, but it's got a top-mounted headlight. Oh, these are going to go all over the place. Now, with LEDs, we do happen to have a resistor. So we got to put the resistor on first. And I usually get pre-wired, so I get pre-wired resistors. So this is going to be kind of new to me. But obviously I've got to clip down the resistors and glue it onto the red wire. That much I know. We'll just pull one off. We'll solder that on. And we'll pray to whatever deity there is that I do it the right way the first time. I thought the heat shrink tubing would work, but obviously it didn't. That's okay. Like I said, I've got liquid tape, so we're good with that. All right, let's get the negative hooked up. Same method of stripping. Just burn it off with lighter. All right. Our wire is together. We're going to go ahead and plug it into our locomotive and see if we've got light. And I've already had my tender stripped. These are going to get repainted, but the weather right now in Reno is horrible. So we'll wait until our next week's episode when we mount the new drive into the tender, and then we also mount couplers, and we'll also shorten the drawbar so we make it more prototypically accurate. So now all we got to do is just plug it in and see if our light works. All right, everything's plugged in. Here comes the acid test, as they say. Helps if I have aha! Success! We have light. We also know which way is forward. We're going to have to mark that with something. So we have our headlight hooked up. We have our DCC system hooked up. We've done this for technically under $100, which is great. So in our next episode, we're going to go ahead and we're going to install our tender and jam as much plug in here as possible. And until then, I am Psycho for Tyco.